one, and boom, we are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing this week, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, you had the Mustang Mach-E for a whole week now.
Yep.
And first of all, people don't. We're gonna get into the new Model S and all that good stuff that came out. But just since we teased it last week when Seth got his delivery, what did you think of the first all-electric vehicle from Ford, built from the ground up to be electric?
I don't want to spoil the post, but it's a solid first offering from Ford. There's a lot. I mean, we own a Model Y, so obviously we're familiar with the segment. It beats the Model Y in some areas. It's not as good as the Model Y in some areas, but I don't want to spoil the post. But if you are a Ford Mustang Mach-E placeholder or you have one on order, you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. And one thing that I think we should emphasize real quick, even though it's, as long as it doesn't ruin the post or anything, but efficiency, not that bad with long-term testing so far, right?
Yeah, especially in the cold. So we have a long-range Model Y. We drive up to Vermont most weekends in the winter. It's about a 3-hour drive. And the Model Y we drive is like, 325 miles or something range. The Mach-E has 270 miles of range. And, I was worried we were not going to make it. But we actually made it up there with pretty much the same amount of percentage of battery as the Model Y, which is kind of surprising. So, I think Ford is a little bit more conservative on their range estimate.
Mm-hmm. Bigger buffer and whatnot.
Yep.
All right, now let's dive into what everyone wants to talk about right now is the new Model S and X that were revealed this week. And I mean, without talking about the car itself, the unveil itself was kind of underwhelming a little bit. Like it was unveiled as part of the earnings at the same time as the earnings. Like the way it was done, like Tesla released the shareholders letter as they always do for the earnings. There was some pictures in it. There was some mention of the new Model S and X. And then they updated the website with a new configurator. And later on, they updated the actual Model S and X pages with a few more information on it. And then Elon talked a little bit about it during the conference call that followed the earnings result. But he did say during the earnings result that they're going to hold another call either later this week or now most likely next week about just the Model S and X refresh. So I don't know why they did like that. If they were going to do a new call, they could have released that with a new call and have a more focus on that, because now that like all the news cycle, all the interest was sort of split between the earnings. Well, not that much of the split was obviously more towards the new Model S and X. Of course, the shorts were like, hey, the people they do that to hide the fact that the earnings weren't that good, even though the earnings were actually pretty good in my opinion. But before we dive into the earnings, let's look into the Model S Palladium. Really, that's the nickname of the update, but people also call it the 2021 refresh. Both works. The interior was the big thing that was missing that we didn't see before that, aside from, of course, the leak from 2-3 years ago. Things that we were expecting were there: the horizontal screen, the smaller instrument cluster. But the big surprise, of course, is the steering wheel. Massive difference on the steering wheel. It's like more of a butterfly type steering wheel with the top removed. Still have the 2 scrolls on each side, but I added a bunch of force touch buttons. But the real big difference is not even the shape, it's not even the buttons, is the lack of stalks on it. There's no Autopilot stalk, there's no drive mode stalk, there's no windshield wiper button, there's no even turn signal stalk is gone. So that's quite the big difference here. I'm gonna dive a little deeper into that. But in the other changes, the third screen was revealed, so it's a kind of a gaming screen that is for the second row behind the front row center console. And this comes with a new MCU too that powers now both the center display and the instrument cluster and the back screen here with higher capacity, bigger GPU for gaming performance, of course. few other changes: a new glass roof, updated glass roof, a new premium audio system with 22 speaker and active noise canceling, which is a technology we know Tesla's been working on for a while. So to use the speaker to actually improve the cabin noise. But there's also other improvement for cabin noise, including double pane windows are more extensively used now in the Model S and X. A bunch of little goodies, USB-C everywhere. Including at the front, it's actually powerful enough to power a laptop. I mean, you did report on that, said that the current ones in Model Y was actually powerful enough to at least maintain a laptop's power, or was it actually charging it?
Yeah, my son has like a Lenovo, small Lenovo laptop that it wasn't charging it, but it was keeping it at the same rate. And I have a new M1 MacBook Air, and it actually charges that thing, but that thing is super efficient.
Yeah.
So, and that was the back USB-C. I don't know about the front USB-C. I think that also has quite a bit of power as well.
Yeah, well, saying that it can charge a laptop is kind of a vague comment, of course. Like, what laptop? All laptops have different power consumption needs. But the fact that they say that hints at a more powerful outlet, at least in the front here. Also, an updated center console, but the center console very similar to what we found in the new Model 3 Model Y.
It's bigger though, right? It's like a couple inches bigger.
It could be, especially when the interior is bigger. But I mean, I'm design wise, I'm more talking about like it's like the way they integrated the phone charger with the center console here, and a big team also that we reported back then when the original refresh was planned in 2019. A focus on more premium material here, and that is shown also on the center console here.
Yeah, it looks quite nice. I like everything. Obviously, the yoke, as people are calling it, not the steering wheel, is going to be the big polarizer. I don't know that Tesla is going to actually be able to sell that as is. I don't even know if it's legal, but also like I know a lot of people are probably saying I want the Model S. I just want a normal steering wheel. I wonder if that's going to be an option.
Well, in the if you look at the source code of the configuration of the configurator for the Model S, there's pictures of the same updated interior with the old wheel or round wheel, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not even like I said, that's not even the biggest part of what's new with that steering wheel. It's more of the lack of stalks, and I mean the picture doesn't really show any stalk even for the round one. So even if that's an option, is it going to be an option without steering column stalks? So that's the bigger question here. And we dove. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the whole Elon's like reverse. You're not gonna. It's gonna know what you want. That whole. I don't know about that. Like,
well, actually reported on that before Elon even tweeted that out. We got some sources that informed us exactly what the steering wheel is about here, because on Tesla's website it was kind of light, the explanation on the lack of stock, and we obtained some internal document that he had talked about the force touch buttons. Like that's nothing crazy. Like it's replacing a lot of the stocks, but it's not replacing the transmission or drive mode stock with, of course, the drive, reverse, neutral, park. There's none of that. It's not on the force touch buttons on the steering wheel. So in a document that Tesla shared with their employees, they said that the vehicle used its Autopilot sensors to intelligently and automatically determine intended drive modes and select them. They even give an example. If the front of the Model S and X is facing a garage wall, it will detect this and automatically shift to reverse when the driver presses the brake pedal. So normally you see a garage wall, you press the brakes, and if you want to reverse, you have to take the stalk, go to reverse. Now, instead, it will automatically detect that you need to go to reverse. So, of course, I mean, the problem with that, it's like and with a lot of what Tesla has been introducing lately, or not introducing in some cases, is they're banking a lot on that full self-driving becoming a reality, and they are trying to build or automate all the tasks related to driving, not just actual steering, understanding the environment, and all that. That like what is known like what Tesla is releasing right now in beta with the FSD beta, but even things like automating your drive mode, like are you in park or are you in reverse and all that. So that's a step toward that here. Of course, it's a big step. However, something that we also reported is that it's not there's still a backup plan, and that's based on the document that we received. There is force touch controls for the park, reverse, neutral, and drive modes near at the base of the phone charger on the center console. So I couldn't actually see it on any of the pictures, but the way that the document was talking about it, it would be like right here, basically, if you see the picture. But I couldn't actually get a good visual on it on any of the pictures. So I was a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is a little bit jarring. The idea of like, what if you need to make a U-turn, or what is that called, like a 3-point turn, where you like that would be kind of a pain. And of course, like you can go onto the screen and select like that. You could do that, but like usually those are high stress times, and having to pull up a screen menu would seem like kind of crazy. I don't know. I like maybe the way to go about doing this is saying, hey, let's do a rollout of auto gear shifting with a car that actually has a physical shift. See how that goes for a while, and then if people are like, oh yeah, it actually works, then say, okay, well the next model is not going to have a gear shift, and people will be like, okay, yeah, I didn't really use it anymore.
Well, at the same time, I'm thinking like I've seen cars now like that have different way to gear shift. I mean, the Mustang is not the dial thing.
Yeah,
it's a dial. Like how much different is that dial from pressing a button on the
that's true.
Next to the phone charger? I mean, you could argue that it's not that big of a difference. Of course, technically the stock is the best thing. It's one thing that most people are used to. Well, not most people. I mean, I think still I don't have a statistic to prove that, but I would assume that most cars have a shifter in the middle still. But I would even venture that Tesla wouldn't be the first car to have actual buttons in the center console to have different drive modes, different gear shifting. I'm not 100%. I couldn't name you another car, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's another car that has that. So basically, my
what about when the MCU goes out? That would be kind of a.
I would assume but this is not on the screen though. It's on on like I don't know, like it would have to be like a different computer for it. Because I mean the MCU can go out and you can still drive the car. So there's something else at play here. So I would have to assume that that's linked to those controls too on the center console. But my view of it, aesthetically, I like it a lot. Like aesthetically, of course, it makes a lot of sense. You have a better view on the instrument cluster. It looks cool, but for it to work, again, you either need to not mind the buttons instead of a gear stalk, or that the automating of the gear shifting is working perfectly. Which I mean, having used a lot of Tesla's automated system over the years, including like auto windshield wipers and Autopilot, it's never perfect. So that's not my main hope here. But again, I'm betting more on the fact that the force touch buttons are not a pain to use, and that would be fine. As for the shape of the steering wheel itself, it's going to depend on the turning radius. I would assume, like if you can make a full turn with just like a 90-degree shift, then it's okay. I wouldn't have any problem with that. But again, I would have to try it more long term, see, and in different scenarios to have a better idea. But I'm not one of those people that are talking down the steering wheel decision from Tesla. I think until proven that it is a pain. I'm gonna be on board with it because I like where they're going with it at least.
Yeah, I mean, definitely throwing software at all the problems is a long term. Like we know that's just how things are going to go. But like getting there is going to be, rough at times, as it has been already. The steering wheel, I think, is going to be the big one. Like, I think people are going to be pretty weird about losing the top of the steering wheel. That's like since horse and buggy days, I guess, was the last time you didn't have a round steering wheel. So that's going to be a rough one, I think.
And some people are questioning the legality of it itself. I mean, normally butterfly wheels haven't been legal in production cars, though there's been workaround, there's been loopholes where you can put it after the fact, you can replace it, and then it's not illegal to have a different steering wheel if it's not production made. So I like Tesla could put like a normal steering wheel and you replace it. I don't know, but there's also a recent change of rules from NHTSA that talk about different steering wheel option for an autonomous car. Of course, Tesla is also not claiming that the car is autonomous yet, so it's not. I don't think they could use that. I know that I've just seen an article though that NHTSA is apparently asking Tesla about it. There's no much more detail than that. They're in conversation about Tesla. But I mean, I'd be kind of surprised that Tesla didn't have those discussions in the first place before releasing that. That would be kind of surprising to me. Okay, but interior update aside, there's a lot of other things that have been added to the Model S and X update. So they updated the old battery pack architecture, the drivetrains, and so that was the new Palladium thing that we were talking about over the last few months, and it's resulting in a whole new new performance, more efficiency, and they changed the trims too. With that, they modified the trims a little bit. There's no performance Model S anymore. There's just a long range Plaid and Plaid Plus, and the long range now gets 412 miles in a single charge. That drops a little bit to 390 if you go with Plaid, and then goes up again with the Plaid Plus to 420, which is the Plaid Plus basically becomes what Tesla announced last year when they announced the Plaid that was supposed to come deliveries at the end of the year. Now it's going to come. My understanding is the Plaid is going to come first, and then the Plaid Plus is going to come a little bit later. So the Plaid could be delivered in the next few weeks, while the Plaid Plus is going to come a little bit later on.
Yeah, March, I think, is the Plaid. So Plaid Plus clearly has a different battery pack size. It's over 100 kilowatt hours, I would assume. What do you think? What size-wise do you think that is?
I mean, if they get over 400 on a 100 kilowatt hour pack, yeah. I mean, 150, and they say 520 plus too, so they don't even like it. 520 plus can mean anything over 520. So,
right.
I mean, something around 150 would make sense to me. If you look at the price difference too, it's $20,000 bump on it, but they both have a similar powertrain. Other than that, I mean,
we don't know really.
Yeah, tri-motor powertrains,
right?
But again, they don't even give us the through performance. They just say 1.99 060 and then less than 199. So we don't have enough information on that yet. And to be honest, I think Tesla probably doesn't have that information yet either. That's why they basically just figure that it doesn't make sense to have a performance and a Plaid.
Yeah, I mean, what could be the case is that regular Plaid, the bottleneck could be in the battery throughput. So the only reason, the Plaid Plus has more battery throughput, so they could have the exact same motors and get it down to under 1.99 seconds.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head here. I think that's probably what's happening. But yeah, again, we don't have that much information on that specifically right now. We expect to have more during the call. Though we did, like with the steering wheel, we did obtain more information that Tesla shared with employees at the same time as the release. So we obtained some kind of a fact section that they send there with like question and answer. So that gave us a little bit more information. For example, Tesla is moving to the phone key as a card. That's the main way to interact with the vehicle with the Model S and X. So
Not surprising.
yeah,
It's working much better on the Model Y and Model
yeah, it's
3.
just a better experience, really. However, they're gonna let you still. They're gonna my understanding, and it's gonna be standard. They're gonna still give you a key fob as standard. So there was now a key fob for Model 3 and Y too, but you had to buy it. For Model S and X, it was coming as standard, and it still is, despite moving to the phone key. So now the Model S and X is also going to come with that little credit card like cards that you have on the Model 3 and Y. And you can use that to set up your phone as the key from that. And also there's the sensors to, if you don't have your phone, if you don't have the key fob, you can still just use the card. Just like the Model 3 and Y, they added a sensor on the B pillar under the camera there. There's a sensors to unlock the car, and then if you want to start it, instead of being just under the center console, now it's on the phone charger. I think is that the phone charging tray. You just put the card on the phone charging tray, and that's going to power on the vehicle. As everyone has seen on the website, there's new Chrome Delete on the Model S and X. It's not the same Chrome Delete as the Model 3 and Y. They call it a premium gloss black finish instead of a satin black on the Model 3 and Y.
So a little bit less matty.
Yeah, but very difficult to say from pictures. You will have to have them side by side to have a very good view of what's happening there. So on that new powertrain thing, so of course the three tri-motor drivetrain option is there now. So it's dual or three motor, 2 or 3. They're also now using permanent magnet technology like they do for Model 3, Model Y. So they transfer to that. And when it comes to the battery pack, so as Elon confirmed, didn't move to the 4680, didn't move to even the 2170. They stayed to the 1865, and they just improved the battery cell technology in that, the chemistry of it, but they still remain with the same form factor. The improvement were more on the battery pack and module levels, where we reported that Tesla has developed a new coolant channels to allow cross flow, making the temperature more consistent across each channel inside the battery pack. And that better thermal capacity in the battery pack result in some very important improvement. The main one being 250 kilowatt charging. So that is now on par with Model 3 and Model Y. And in my opinion, that's one of the biggest reasons why the Model S and X have fallen behind in terms of sales, is because the Model 3 and Model Y became the better vehicle in some aspects, including charging, which is, of course, a very big deal for a lot of people. So now this is on par. But I mean, if you can charge faster, you can also discharge faster and better without hurting the battery pack. And that's going to result in higher performance and repeatability, consistent repeatability of performance. So that's something that Tesla's competitor have been kind of using as a way to differentiate themselves from Tesla. I mean, Porsche with the Taycan has used that a lot. Now, I mean, maybe our 0 to 16 is not as fast as Tesla, but you can do it like 10 times in a row without losing capacity. You cannot do that with Tesla. They've been using that. Now Tesla is fighting back with that new thermal capacity in the Model S and X. So that's interesting. Cup holders everywhere.
Need that.
Cup holders on the center console. That they're retractable cup holder on the center console, and there's also pockets now. Didn't have pockets on my last, and now you have the pockets on the doors, and those pockets also fitted where you can put a drink there too, a water bottle or something. As for the second row, we all saw from the picture this center console here that basically it's the seat that folds back. Here, what you have here are also inductive phone charger, so that's nice.
Yeah, it's cool.
and also there's USB-C with that screen that we talked about earlier. Speaking of those screens, I mean, the main one is a 17-inch, which is actually the same diagonal as the other Model S screen, Model S and X screen, 2 inches larger than the Model 3, Model Y screen. So you still retain a bigger screen in those now. I mean, you could argue that now the Model S and X are back as the flagship vehicles, and they weren't for a while.
For sure.
even though they were more expensive.
Although I would say that the back screen is a little bit, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like that exciting. Like, my kids are obviously excited about the prospect of watching or playing video games while we're driving, if that's indeed legal. But like, why are we looking straight down at it looks like about a 7-inch display?
Yeah.
And that's like Game Boy size almost. I feel like Tesla could have done something in the seats a little bit more exciting, better. But this is a good next step, I guess.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, really. But I mean, my argument, has always been like, if you want to go with entertainment inside a car, you won't be having your own iPad there or having like a laptop or something. Yeah. It's got to be better than whatever solution you can find, whether it's a screen in the back seat, on the back of the front seat, or in the center console here.
I kind of feel like they could have just put like a 12-inch iPad holder there and just said, you know what to do. Go get your iPad, put it in there. And
you know what I think is going to happen?
What's that?
There's going to be some interaction between the two screens, and where like there's going to be games you're going to be able to play, because this is a touch screens too. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going to come up with some games where you can play from like on the front screen with the back screen interaction or something like that, like making a whole interactive experience inside the car for the family or something. So that would make sense to have everything integrated for that. But
can you pull that thing off? Like, is that thing going to be stuck there, or can you grab it and play with it?
I think it's going to be stuck there.
All right.
Yeah, there are some cars that do that have like removable screen, like with an extremely high-end vehicle.
I mean, Tesla's getting so far into the OS and the gaming. I wonder if they're ever just thinking about, hey, let's just take the tablet and sell it. As a like we're now Windows, or we're now Apple
for cars.
We're just making an OS, and we're gonna go up against Apple and Microsoft because we have tablets already.
Well, I mean, with the whole gaming thing, I mean, we saw the Witcher on there and all the advertising, meaning that the Witcher is coming, I assume. Elon also mentioned that he can run Cyberpunk. So, but he didn't say that Cyberpunk was coming. He said that he can run it. So
they're going to need more storage.
Either need more storage, or they didn't strike a deal with the distributor of Cyberpunk and they cannot run it yet, or something like that. But in terms of storage, Elon said that there's more storage with that new MCU that is powering that. That new MCU also has a new AMD chip in it, 10 teraflop of power. It's apparently competitive with the new generation of gaming console, the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. There's very competitive specs there. And if you remember back when, I mean, Elon was talking about Tesla releasing like bundles of games that you can buy and for the car, like in the future when there's more games available. So, I mean, I see Tesla trying to move into the space of like becoming some kind of Steam or some kind of like Xbox Live Store, PlayStation Store, but for cars there.
I mean, they have a big user base, right? They have,
and it's growing fast. Yeah,
it's growing fast, and we know in the past they've talked about becoming their own Spotify, where they have their own relationships with the music publishing. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
App Store too. They can be their own app store,
right?
Because I mean, before it was always a little bit like if you put like a app store on the screen that is next to the driver and everything, it's like there's some bad publicity that comes with that, being a distraction wise. But now if you have the back screen too, and like it's you can argue that it's more about that the new application and not really the front driver. Oh, by the way, one thing I didn't mention for the front screen, it's tilting, so you can tilt it a little bit right or left. I don't know how much you can tilt it, but
it doesn't look like much. It looks like it's pretty locked in there.
Yeah, that's fair. The frunk and the trunk. So the frunk is modified a little bit. They had to in order to accommodate the new powertrain, but in terms of size and cargo capacity, storage capacity, apparently didn't change that much, not in any significant way. Same thing for the trunk. However, it folds. The second row in the Model S folds flatter, and you can the parcel shelf can be stored underneath the underneath compartment flat too. They even say in the Model X. In Model X now, the way that the trunk is set up, you can literally put a full set of golf clubs and put them horizontally in the trunk. So
Hmm.
you could technically like stack up a few set of golf clubs.
I thought it was weird they didn't mention anything about the third row, even in the
Yeah, I mean,
or the Model S.
I don't miss.
Because Elon said a couple of times, like
Mhm.
the Plaid is going to have third row, or it's going to seat 7.
Yeah, and he even said rear facing third row specifically. You
Yeah.
mentioned,
So maybe that's
yeah,
the Plaid Plus option or something.
or it's gone. I have kind of a feeling it might be gone too. The airwave climate. So the airwave climate is what was this the first introduced in the Model 3 and Model Y. This new system to blow air with a single fan all along the dash. That has been updated for they use the same thing for the Model S and X, but it's been updated. And now what they say that the update is that it's able to use the screens and other glass surface in the car to create airflow. So you have literally the impression that the air are coming from the screens,
Weird.
blowing out of the screens. I thought that was interesting. That was in the document that we obtained.
It's like Dyson technology. The air's coming from somewhere where it can't be coming from.
Yeah, almost. So yeah, and then that's gonna be especially useful because I mean, with the Model 3 and Y, you don't have an instrument cluster in the front, so the fan is really there. I mean, even though it's just a slit and you don't actually see a fan. In this one, it's actually even more better hidden. But the way they do it, apparently, it feels like it's coming out of the instrument cluster, which is kind of crazy. There's new tires and wheels, so the wheels have been slightly updated. It's the same overall design with the Arachnid and don't remember what the other one is called, Slipstream, whatever. The tires have been modified though. They have new custom tires that Tesla says have better ruling plushness for a smoother ride.
Do you think they go 200 miles per hour and do all the? Because I believe Elon said that you need special tires to go 200 miles per hour.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the document only said in general for Model S and X. I don't think it particularly said the plaid version, but that's a good point. All right, last thing in the document was the new interior sensors. So Tesla is bringing the same cabin-facing camera that is Model 3, Model Y, but for the Model 3, Model S and X, it's on over the rear view mirror. And also, there's a new interior radar for intrusion and sensing and occupant detection. So that's something I think Tesla was selling as an aftermarket thing at one point, and now it's standard with the Model S and X. So we talk about S and X, but we mostly focus on the S. Tesla also unveiled the new Model X, but it's all the modification are the same or very similar to the Model S here. Of course, the exterior design is modified, but it's modified also like the Model S with the new air intake in the front, the chrome delete and whatnot. Also, the modification to the trims, remove the performance version, replace it with a plaid, but no plaid plus for the Model X.
They did get the coefficient of drag down a little bit on both.
Yeah, on both cars. Yeah, that's part of the new efficiency capacity of the vehicles. For the Model S, I think it's 0.208 or something like
that. Very close to 2. And they said something about the Model X being the most efficient SUV in the market.
Yeah. I think it probably was already the case. So, although it was a bigger SUV than some others. All right, so that's something that we just reported earlier today. So from a few sources and sales channel, we got some clear indication that, unsurprisingly, Model S and S sales are spiking. But and I mean, we've been reporting for months, if not years now, that an update was needed to revive Model S and X sales because of the lead that the Model 3 and Y have taken in some key aspects, again, specifically when it comes to charging, but also just like the interior was getting a little bit stale. The exterior was fine, I think, but I appreciate the update there too. But yeah, they needed a boost for the sales. The sales weren't doing great, and now apparently it's coming strong. Two sources said that they've never seen that many sales coming in from OS since Ludacris was released way back when was Ludacris? It was 2016, I think, end of 2016, something like that. So that was a while ago. And however, there's some frustration from buyers, and I understand it because the weird thing about the way Tesla handled this rollout here, like we reported on them, like telling employees to liquidate all inventory so that there's nothing left and there's a clean move to the new version and everything. But the problem is that Tesla kept taking orders for the Model S and X while the production was shut down, and even before that, without ever any intention of delivering those Model S and X at that price and with those designs and features. Um, of course, the new Model S and X are more expensive, like $10,000 more expensive. So now you have two problems. Like you have to, the Tesla cannot go through with those orders that they were initially expected. I mean, those people that placed their orders, either they actually wanted the car that they ordered, meaning the Model S like it was before, the Model X like it was before, at the price it was listed before, or they were thinking that I can place my order right now, put my deposit and everything, and I'm going to be like first in line when the refresh is coming, because a lot of people were expecting that refresh. But now Tesla is making all of those people go to of course, the refresh version, and they are making them pay the new price and not the price that it was at when they placed the order. So that is not going well with everyone. However, we are told that Tesla has been authorizing sales staff to do a price adjustment of $2,000 off of the $10,000 price. So that's I mean, some people are accepting it, so others are not. And they're also letting you keep the FSD price that it was when you place your order. Of course, it was a while back now that they changed the FSD pricing, but I mean, Tesla has been taking order for a while now that they weren't going to deliver it anyway. So that's kind of on them.
Yeah,
but
in Europe, I think they haven't been fulfilling orders since last year.
Yeah, for a while last year. Of course, they already increased the price then, but it wasn't a full increase like it was now. So the price has changed again. So yeah, it's not a great situation. I mean, you could argue that that you're getting a much better car for that higher price. But again, I also understand the argument that you place your order for something else, something that was cheaper, and now you're not getting it. Like I completely understand that frustration. But you do get $2,000 out of that people that are placing the order now won't get, out of the fact that you were screwed of that of the original deal that was set. So I mean, I'm not too mad for people that placed the order thinking that they weren't gonna get that existing Model S and they will get the refresh version at the price they were paying for. We kind of knew that they would be a more expensive. The new version was going to be more expensive. But I understand the frustration for the people that placed the order and thought they were getting the old Model S at that price. That's a little bit more upsetting to have to now to pay $8,000 to $10,000 more. Not great. All right, now let's go into the earnings here, the Q4 earnings, because they kind of went under the radar with the whole Model S and X refresh. 10 billion and 700 million, 10 billion 700 million in revenue, and earnings of no, that was the expectation, earnings of 80 cents per share non-GAAP. So on the revenue side, it's a slight beat against expectation from Wall Street. On the earnings side, it's about a 20% miss on their earnings. So Tesla missed on the profits, but they did deliver profit, but lower than expected, but a slight beat on earnings. But I mean, also the big story is like Tesla is now like a $10 billion quarter revenue rate right now, which is kind of crazy. Like it's a $40 billion a year. Uh, like the company wasn't even worth for $40 billion just a few years ago. Now they can bring that in a year.
Like a year and a half ago, really.
Yeah. And gross margins for the automotive was down 20 to 24% from 27 last quarter. Not too surprising with the continued change of Model 3, Model Y being higher in the mix, Model S and X going down. That could change in the coming months, but I wouldn't expect crazy deliveries for Model S and X in Q1. I would think that would come more in Q2 and even maybe probably more in the second half of the year. But yeah, positive cash flow, 1.9 billion. That's a lot of money. Tesla ended the quarter with almost $20 billion in cash equivalent. So that's the highest it has ever been. Of course, a lot of that is not just from the free cash flow, but it's also from raising capital. But the market didn't like that. I mean, the SNX refresh came as the same time as the earnings, so that could have played a little bit in the market reaction. But overall, the market was down after Tesla's release because I think mainly because of the miss on the quarter for the profit, but also with the first release of the year. The market is expecting guidances, projection from Tesla, from any companies for the first report. And Tesla came out with some pretty vague projection. Like normally they would tell you like, oh, we think we're going to make this amount of money this year, this amount of deliveries or whatever. Instead, Tesla, what they said, they said we expect a 50% per year growth rate for the foreseeable future, with us significantly overachieving that in certain year, depending on certain condition, like of course new factory coming online or something like that. And they said that they expect 2021 to be that. But I mean, I guess the market didn't like the just Tesla saying we're gonna beat a 50% growth rate in 2021, which to me sounds a bit insane because that's like pretty good guidance here. Right?
Yeah, like any other company says, hey, we're going to grow 50%, like for the foreseeable future, and they're going way up. But I guess like Tesla has gone up quite a bit, the share price over. So I guess the expectation is like we're going to double every year, and
the expectation was built in here. But at the same time, so I guess we kind of know that everyone kind of know Tesla was going to beat 50% this year. Is by how much? I mean, I think on the more conservative side, they think maybe 75%, things like that. When on the bullish side, they think like 100%. Because I know that's a lot of people are betting on Tesla delivering over 1 million cars in 2021. But we'll see. All right. One of the big positive that I thought came out of the earnings is Tesla Energy. The energy group at Tesla did amazingly well this quarter. I don't have it. Okay. On the solar side, Tesla delivered 86 megawatts. That's kind of solar deployment that we haven't seen since 2018. So we know that since Tesla bought SolarCity, there's been a gradual decline in solar deployment because Tesla wouldn't focus on that. Also, they were tightening things up when they were focusing on just highly profitable project, which went in the way of higher volume deployment. But we saw last quarter that it was a big improvement in last quarter, and we reported that we think this might be the beginning of a big ramp up there. And sure enough, they beat that 59% year over year, but 29 they went up 29 megawatt just in one quarter, up 29 megawatts. So that's massive here quarter to quarter. They attribute that, of course, to just the solar rooftop retrofit, but also solar roof deployment accelerating with a bigger team and more efficiency in installations. Okay, now solar aside, energy storage alone went crazy with 1.5 gigawatt hour deployed in the quarter, almost 200% increase year over year, and 100% increase quarter over quarter. That's crazy. Like from going from one quarter to quarter to 100% increase, doubling. It's massive. So that's Tesla attributes that mostly to the mega pack, but also improvement in Powerwall deployment. And we've been reporting over the last few months. I mean, the Powerwall demand is just insane. They are again talking about improving the production rate of the Powerwall, but there's no, of course, clear timeline or anything like that. It's just we're working on it. Uh, yeah, well, they said in the next few months, so I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Tesla took, after buying Solar City, Tesla took a really big step back and said, let's figure out what that, how to make this a high margin business. Like they kind of turned away all but the lowest hanging fruit, and then they kind of went back to the drawing board and really worked on their product. Like they have a very simple product line versus other solar installers, which are more bespoke. They kind of say, well, you need this much and whatever. Tesla's just like, look, pick one of these 5 things and hit checkout, and that's it. Like, you want to ask questions, Google it. Like they don't really have a lot of extra fat in the solar department. So now they're kind of running full steam ahead because they have the least expensive per watt solar. They have the least expensive per watt hour of battery. And so that they've got pretty much the best product on the market, and they're in a great position to sell that. And they also have, a 1 million person Rolodex of wealthy, electric green people. So they're in great shape.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said it, like the product is there now. The product makes sense. I don't know about the production capacity, but the spec-wise, price-wise, it makes sense. Now they are added a lot of people. They're adding a lot of people to the team too. That helps a lot because I mean, the number one feedback I get from Tesla Solar customers is I can get a call back. Like I want my money is there. I might take my money. I cannot get a call back. Like, how often do you hear that from a business? Like someone is trying to give you money and you're not even calling them back. So Tesla has been improving on that. They are hiring more people. So that should set Tesla Energy, I should say, for a great 2021. I mean, that's a story to look for. Of course, I mean, revenue wise, it's not a massive impact for Tesla. Like out of automotive revenue of 20. Whoa, what am I looking at here? Let's go back to the actual filings here. It's going to be easier. So automotive sales of let's look at total automotive revenue instead of 7.6 billion, and total energy generation and storage. 9 billion for total automotive revenue, and 750 million for. I mean, this is too small. Yeah, 752 million for energy. So there's still a giant difference, of course, but the pace is increasing a lot. And that's what's important. Also, I would even argue that you could have had Tesla superchargers in the Tesla Energy division because they are delivering energy. I mean, I know it's related to cars, but that it's also very similar in terms of jobs. What the supercharger team does as the solar team in terms of like getting permits and getting the electric utility to get on board and turn on the service and whatnot. So, and the supercharger team did great in Q4. Went from 2,181 station in Q3 to 2,564. That's a 41% year-to-year increase and a 400 station increase in 1 quarter. It's insane. Went from 19,000 stalls to 23,000 stalls. So giant improvement there. So Tesla, like if you bundle that into Tesla Energy, I think it's like doing very great this quarter. But also the service and store side also get a really big bump this quarter. Went from, I mean, just to give you an idea, from Q2 to Q3, Tesla went from 446 to 466. So they added 20 stores in Q3. Then they went to 523 stores. So 60, almost 60 more stores in. So three times they opened the three times the number of stores and service centers in Q4 as they did in Q3. It's pretty crazy.
Some
Also, a big growth on the mobile service fleet. I mean, last quarter it grew only by 11 units, 11 cars. This quarter, or I should say Q4, it grew by 43 units. So four times the number of growth in terms of mobile service. So, and I mean, it makes sense. Tesla added a lot of cars to their fleet in Q4. You need to service those cars. I mean, hopefully not. You don't need to, but we know that's never the case. I mean, speaking of, let's talk a little bit about what Tesla management said during the call that followed the release of the earnings. And one of those things was Jerome said, like, again, like, best service is no service. And I mean, I like that idea, and like everyone likes that. Like, if I never had to go to service my car, I would be happy. But that's not what you really want to hear when you're a customer. I didn't like what he had to say on that front much. I mean, he said something like, out of like 100 stores out of 140 in North America, I have less than 10 days wait for an appointment. I mean, that's great if you are in the market of those stores, but if you're on the market on the 40 others, that's more than 10 days. Like, it's not fun. Like, that's screwed the entire ownership experience. So I think I would have liked, when they asked that question, I would have liked a more like, hey, we're working hard on it. We know this is a problem with Tesla service, and some places we're working hard. That's what I think customer wanted to hear, not that, hey, we're actually doing great. And
Yeah, and I mean they should really play up their mobile Ranger unit. Like that's a really nice thing to not have to take your car anywhere. And then, like sometimes you need to, like, it's not even Tesla's fault. Sometimes you hit like something on the road and you need a new tire or whatever.
Fair, yeah.
I mean, there's going to be service issues. Like, I don't think it's a realistic expectation to aim for zero. You can aim for zero, like Tesla's fault, but you can't aim for zero service issues.
Yeah, he did. Jerome did share an interesting stat saying that now I think 40% of all service appointments are handled by the mobile fleet. I think that's good.
Yeah.
And they're aiming for 50, I think, this year. I think 50 is probably like gonna be there's gonna be a plateau at one point. Like, you can keep adding.
So much you can do with this thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah. Unless you show up with like a whole trailer that you can literally like put the car in, lift it up in there, and then do what you got to do.
I mean, that's happening with bikes too. There's a company called Velofix that we've been using, and they just have a big. I mean, a lot of companies actually deliver bikes that way. The Velofix guy does it in the back of the panel truck. Tightens everything up, gets it ready, delivers it. Or you have a problem. You call them up, they schedule a time, they come out, fix your bike in the back of the truck, and off they go. It's pretty good service.
Yeah, Tesla's doing something similar, I guess, but of course there's limitation when your product goes from a small bike to a big car.
Yeah.
All right, a few interesting things that were said during the conference call. Elon did mention that Tesla held some preliminary, I have a lot of issue with that word, preliminary discussion about licensing Autopilot to other OEMs. Of course, OEMs generally refers to other automakers.
Who do you think they're talking to?
I mean, we talked about it when you first said it. I think you said Volkswagen. I mean, I think, of course, the more friendlier, because I know we know that Tesla is not liked by every automaker in the industry. A lot of them are saying bad things about it and everything. There's a few that are more friendly to Tesla. I think Volkswagen, you're right, is one of them. Maybe Daimler, former partner to Tesla, that long-time investor, I think could be a potential. But those automakers have their own very deep self-driving program, also deep partnership with big firms. So I really don't know. Also, I find it interesting. Like there was some confusion because when in the comment about we held some primary discussion about licensing Autopilot to other OEMs, he specifically said Autopilot, but then he talked about full self driving. He said before we do that, we're gonna have to focus on proving that our full self driving works. So I think when he said Autopilot, he meant like what enables full self driving. And of course, he offered that as when he was asked the question of Tesla licensing its software, because of course Tesla is developing a deep expert even software with Autopilot, but also with other things like Autobidder was specifically mentioned. And Elon did say that Autobidder is also fair game for potential licensing to other companies. But at the same time, I thought it was kind of weird because Autobidder is kind of already being used by other companies because it kind of manage existing energy assets. So like, I know Autobidders is owned, for example, is used by Tesla for the big battery in Australia, which is actually owned by Neoen, which is a French company. So I mean, so Tesla, so the software is being used like by or through other partners at least. So I don't know. Still an interesting comment. Next one, Tesla Semi. There was a few mention. There was a mention in the shareholder letter, and then again on the call about the Tesla Semi. Tesla more clearly said that they are going to start deliveries later this year. We've been hearing a lot about the production of Tesla Semi recently. We know that last year Elon kind of mentioned that it's going to be made in Texas, but last few months we had a lot of indication that at least some production is going to happen in Nevada. And now Elon said that the Semi is ready to go into production basically, but they're waiting for 4680 cells capacity. They say that the Tesla Semi would just simply consume too many cells, and they're gonna have to ramp up 4680 production until they can be any type of meaningful deliveries. And there was an update on that too, really, on the 4680 cells. Andrew Baglino said that they are on track for the pilot plant to reach their full potential of 10 gigawatt hour of production this year. And they are already ordering the equipment and everything to deploy the capacity for 100 gigawatt hour in Berlin. And I don't know if they count Berlin and Texas. Of course, they're working on both at the same time, like sort of simultaneously, the battery production at both sides. But Berlin is likely going to come online first. And they aim for 100 gigawatt hour next year. So 10 gigawatt hour this year is going to help for Model Y in Europe. Of course, that's going to be under the structural battery pack architecture in the 4680, and apparently the Tesla Semi now too.
I mean, it kind of feels like this is shaping up to be like the big problem of the next 5 years is getting batteries. Like Tesla can't even get batteries, and they have multiple factories and agreements with CATL and LG. And Elon even said, like, we'll take all the batteries that they can give us for years. And, if Tesla can't get batteries, then how is GM? I mean, GM's going to build their own factory with LG as well. But, like, it just seems like the biggest hurdle for EVs over the next 5 years is going to be batteries. Like, that's going to be the bottleneck.
Battery cell supply,
yeah. That's going to be the bottleneck.
I really like the comment that you just referenced from Elon about buying everything they can get from suppliers, because I mean, of course, you shouldn't listen to the shorts anyway, but that's something that they always bang out every time Tesla talk about a new deal with CATL, LG, or Panasonic about battery cell supply. They're like, hey, what about the 4680? I thought you guys were all 4680 is going to future and everything, and now you make battery cell contract. Like, that was always clear that Tesla's going to just buy everything they can get, and 4680 is just adding on top of all that, and until they can maybe like catch up to any type of supply they can get from other automaker, like maybe like then that shift will change. But I don't see that happening for years and years and years, because Tesla's, of course, a lot of catching up to do with those manufacturers.
Yeah.
Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Cybertruck was also mentioned during the call, and Elon, I mean, he's been doing that for a while now, kind of preparing us for a delay on the Cybertruck. Of course, here we have been very skeptical about Tesla managing to deliver the Cybertruck in 2021. Elon made his own most skeptical comment yet about the production of Cybertruck, saying that if we get lucky we will be able to do a few deliveries toward the end of this year, but I expect volume production to begin in 2022. So that is a clear, like, hey, don't expect too much for the Cybertruck this year. Like, I mean, and I always say you have to read to get to listen and read Elon's word carefully. He means his word. He's always careful with his words. Not always, but for things like that, for like projections and timelines, normally he's very careful. And you have to, like, a few deliveries is gonna mean a few deliveries, and that's if they get lucky.
Yeah, if there's any hesitation there, to err on the side of the hesitation.
Exactly. And he did, of course, bring back again the complexity and bringing the Cybertruck to market with the exoskeleton. And he did mention that they are now they stopped iterating the design and the engineering. It's now mostly locked in, and they're gonna soon, or like that's the thing, when he said they're gonna soon order the equipment necessary to make the Cybertruck work. I mean, we're less than 12 months away from that for the end of the year. So if you're just now ordering the machinery to build a truck, it's got, I mean, I don't see it all. I don't see how it's possible. They also revealed that they're going to use an 8,000 ton pressure of for the casting press. So that's even bigger than a 6,000 ton pressure casting press that Tesla's been using for the Model Y, which has been called the biggest in the world. So everything is bigger in Texas. I didn't put that in, but that wasn't on the call. Actually, he said that on Twitter after the call. The Roadster, he confirmed that the Roadster is delayed into 2022, though he did say that a release candidate is going to come by the summer. So
have another look, maybe.
Come again?
We'll have another look at it at that point, right? If there's a release candidate on the road.
Yeah, you mean it's going to be different?
Well, I don't know how different it'll be, but we'll have a look at the updated Roadster.
Yeah, I mean, he's been promising that for a while, like the SpaceX package, what's that going to look like and whatnot.
Right. I mean, he was specific and said 2021 is going to be a really exciting year. And, obviously we've already seen the Model S and X, and that's exciting, but he made it seem like there's a lot of stuff coming. But we kind of know that the Cybertruck's not coming this year. We kind of know that the Roadster is not coming this year. Like the semi's not coming this year. What's coming? 2021.
A new product unveil, you mean? You want to see that?
I don't know.
I mean, there was any new product unveil in 2020.
Well, the Model Y was right.
Well, it was introduced. It started production, but I mean, it was unveiled in 2019.
Right.
So Elon did say that there wouldn't be any product unveil after the Cybertruck for a while, and there hasn't been any. He's been right. There hasn't been any. I mean, you could argue that the new Model S is a product unveil, but I mean, it's still the Model S and the Model X. It's not a whole new product. So, yeah, I mean, but I think when he said that, I think he meant more like it's exciting, like in terms of production. Like production is increasing like crazy in 2021. Berlin, Texas coming online, Shanghai production increasing. So I think it was more about that. But yeah, it would be exciting to see a new product. But yeah, Roadster officially delayed to 2022. However, like how deep into 2022? The fact that there's a release candidate ready this summer would indicate to me that we could be lucky and it could be early in 2022. But I don't know. That's just my guess. All right, we're gonna have one last item, not directly related to Tesla, to discuss right now. So if you have any question for us, put them in the comment section right now, because we're gonna get to them in just a few moments. But the last comment is Biden held a little press conference this week and talked about a little bit deeper into his plan to accelerate electrification in the U.S. And he plans to do that also directly through the government fleet, the federal government fleet going electric. So that's a strategy that we've seen a lot of government, even in the U.S., but more on the local level, either state or even municipal level, doing to encourage electric vehicles. Just buy them yourself, and that will force automaker, or at least incentivize automakers to do it, because normally governments, they do big contract with big fleets. And Jamie Dow did the article on it, and he figured out that the federal fleet has 45,000 vehicles in it. So if that is going all electric, then that's big orders are going to be in the way. So that can really kickstart a vehicle program, really.
No, for sure.
Just like
And
Rivian, what Rivian did with Amazon.
yeah, I mean,
Get 100,000 order for a truck. I mean, that's going to be a large percentage of your production capacity for years. So
right, and GM's there. There's a couple, domestic automakers. So there, I mean, the opportunity is going to be big if they're ready to
yeah.
prepare.
And there's a diversity of vehicles, of course. Like the biggest part is civilian vehicles, which I assume are like actual passenger cars, like whatever the FBI is driving, or I don't know, like city official, like government officials and whatnot. Like they were given like company cars. Well, I guess they're government cars, but so those are regular like cars that anyone could buy, really. So that just encouraging that alone is big. The second biggest is post office vehicles. So that's would be more commercial vehicles, and we knew that the USPS has already been looking into electrification, and the private sector competition like FedEx, UPS, and whatnot are also doing that. So that will just accelerate the whole space. And like you said, GM with Bright Drop, that's going to be a player in that. Of course, Workhorse is going to be a player with that too. A lot of startups have been focusing on vehicles that are commercial vehicles. What's the Canoe? Canoe has been doing that too. So this is going to be a big boost for a lot of those players. All right,
sure.
Want to jump into the comments?
Yep. Let's move over here. All the way back at the beginning, we got some. Dan Howard, what size packs? Well, I think we were talking about the Model S and X, or maybe I was talking about the Mach E versus the Model Y. Average kilowatts per mile on each. Our vehicle to grid, bidirectional capability equipped. So in the U.S., so I'll work backwards there. In the U.S., the CCS standard isn't in place yet for vehicle to grid, so Ford's not talking about it. But in Europe, there's a vehicle to grid standard, which I believe the European CCS is ready for. The Mach E battery pack is actually much bigger than the Model Y, but I don't think Ford uses all the space. So I think that the battery pack's like around 90 kilowatt hours, but you only get like about 80 something of usable space, whereas the Model Y is around 75 kilowatt hours. So I would imagine the Model Y gets better kilowatts per or more miles per kilowatt, so to speak. Let's move on. The steering wheel is a koala face upside down, so that's the new yoke. I've heard a lion face as well.
A what face?
Lion face. I don't know. It just looks like an animal if you look at it the right way. Yeah, I can never unsee that. Okay. Do you think that Tesla will add options for the steering wheel so you can have a traditional one instead of a yoke?
Yeah, we discussed that a little bit. There was some image of it in the source code of the website, but it's not an option in the configurator itself. And I haven't heard from my source. I've been poking around. No one has heard anything about that. So I don't know. That doesn't sound likely so far. But I've heard Tesla has done like off the menu items before, so that might be one of them. I don't know.
Luke Barrow says, any news about the Model 2 or the Model C or whatever they call the $25,000 one? We didn't hear about it this week, but that could be something 2021.
Yeah, an unveiling. Yeah, it could be an unveiling for sure.
I wonder if that would be a China or Europe.
But in terms of timing, I mean, the Tesla was clear that the 4680 cell and the structural battery pack is enabling that model. So until that comes, just like the Tesla Semi, until they have the cells for that, it's not going to be coming. And I would also note that the Tesla probably need to perfect to that structural battery pack thing. So that structural battery pack is going to come from Model Y first. You probably need to perfection it to and reduce the cost in order to make it that work for that $25,000 car.
He says, my dad works for Giga Berlin builder manager. Hit us up on the email. We'll chat. Why do you think Coach DA says, why do people think they know more than the engineers that build these cars? At least wait until you experience it. But to dismiss things out of hand makes no sense to me.
I mean,
Fair
we can
enough.
have our opinions. Like, I don't like when people go there like, oh, you don't know more than the people who build it. Like, yeah, but I can have an opinion about it. Like, I know we tried a lot of cars. That's our job. We drive electric cars. Like, we're gonna have opinions on what we think works best than others. Like, that's our actual job.
All right, Dan Howard's back. I like the shift, like the old gear shift knob for hypergliding and regenerative braking feature to slow down without using brakes. At 177,000 plus miles, my brake pads still look brand new. My 2017 Nissan Leaf SL recharged over 5,600 times now. That's pretty impressive. I wonder if he lives in a warm climate or...
I think he used it as a taxi or something.
William Kaczynski says, I believe Ferrari already has turn signals as buttons on the steering wheel in the 458 Italia.
That would make sense.
Giving an opinion on the consumer level is okay, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it goes beyond opinion. If you use your thumbs while driving on the wheel, a sudden impact may break the fingers and gliding bones into your hands. Oh, that's kind of morbid, but I guess you probably...
What do you mean by using your thumb on the wheel? It's like, I always do that. I always like...
If a sudden impact is breaking your fingers on the wheels, you probably have bigger...
Yeah. Yeah. And anyway, like the current Model 3 model, and like I keep my thumbs near the scrolls. Like, this is going to be the same thing here.
All right. Speed sensitive steering would make the yoke easy and predictable.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, they have to adjust the steering wheel's sensitivity to the speed and the turning radius, so that you don't have to go like this, like to
right.
wheel, or like that's not gonna work.
So that kind of brings us back to the steer by wire thing, because you know, if it's not mechanically connected to the wheels, we've seen the Teslas looking at steering by wire, which would be kind of part of that. Did we see the Model 2 or C on the Fremont test track? No.
We did post a video of the Model Plaid on there, though.
Dan Howard's certainly asking a lot of questions. All right. Have you read or will get a new Nissan Aria model coming out at the end of 2021? Love to see your thoughts on this. We would love to get a review of it. I don't know if I have any intention of buying one. I'm actually probably going to have a year of maybe the second year of not buying anything for myself or my wife. Bidirectional is a plug problem here in North America. European CCS, Japanese CHAdeMO are bidirectional, but the most common North American plug formats, Tesla CCS, J1772, do not support bidirectional. I think I alluded to that before. Also, the economics are not ideal for bidirectional. You also need an islanding gateway and extra wiring, so you're not far from a Powerwall cost. Yeah, those are good points about bidirectional.
Yeah, that's something we talked in the last show a little bit at the end. Some kind of like Powerwall device that's bidirectional, charging at the same time. That would be very cool, and we'll address some of that.
Yeah, I mean, we have this whole theory that like there's going to be a DC backbone that's going to do Powerwall, going to do solar, going to do charging, and then there's going to be one gateway with the AC, and that's how it's going to work. All right. Let's see. Let's get it going here. A lot of thumbs up. Nanda Holtz, pretty sure they tried a central joystick, but the yoke is one step closer to the future.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's probably the next step. Maybe like a D-pad, you know.
Tesla does a lot of things that, like, with assuming autonomy in the car, that I mean, it's pushing it a little bit, but I think that's the latest example.
Jordan Hart asks, what do you guys make of the news that Cybertruck may not be a complete one-piece exoskeleton shell / body?
Is that based on Elon's comment about the big casting of the rear? But I think he specifically referenced the bed on that. So, I mean, I think you would have to drop a bed in it. That's just a giant bed, just like Tesla does, like the rear where the top of the trunk goes in for the Model Y. I think that's what he was specifically talking about. I don't think it means that it's not going to be an exoskeleton. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the greatest How It's Made episode ever is going to be that Cybertruck production line at Gigafactory, Texas. That's going to be I want to see that TV show.
Yeah. Dan's back. I understand cost factor. Could they resolve this on the assembly line? Example, BYD and Tesla working on inductive wireless charging elements already. Why not add this? Make compatible in design.
That was regarding what?
I think it's charging.
Okay.
Let's move on. All right, 3-phase. Could you watch Netflix on the back screen? I'm assuming you can. I mean, that's going to be one of the things that keeps your kids quiet on road trips. That's
Oh yeah, all the entertainment stuff in Tesla's UI. I think you're gonna be able to.
I wonder if you're going to be able to isolate sound. Like if we're listening to a podcast up front, can we have the kids with Netflix on the back? It has how many speakers? They said like 422 speakers. So maybe 11 of those can be a podcast. All right. Vehicle to grid, not ready. All right. Let's try to go through these. Rear screen for camp mode. I mean,
yeah, so a lot of people is talking about that.
I mean, front screen works fine for camp mode too already. So
yeah, but people, yeah. Also, I mean, how visible is the screen once the second row is down, which it needs to be if you're camping in the back of the vehicle?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, you're gonna want to use a 17-inch screen, I think. You can meet for controls, though. You can use it for controls, maybe like as a remote.
Yeah, that's what John Kachagas is saying. The back screen may control the back seats and the heating. That makes sense. Some Tesla drivers have actually been stopped, pulled over, and ticketed for the center-mounted tablets. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a viral video of that, of a guy being pulled over by the police, and the police is like, "Well, you have a laptop there," and the guy's like, "It's not a laptop. It's standard with the car." It's like, that shouldn't be legal. It was like, yeah, but it comes with the car. Like, let me tell you, you cannot take it off. Like, nah, you cannot take it off.
Yeah, I actually I think there was some video about this as well. But when I had the rear-facing kit, the trunk seats, and I was putting my kids in the trunk, some lady came over and was like appalled. And I was like, look, there's seats back here and there's a window. They're fine. They love it.
Yeah, a lot of people have the same problem. In the video you're referencing, the police follow that family all the way to their home.
Yeah.
They were taking the kids back out of it. And like the police is like slowly approaching them, like, because I think at that point they figured out that it wasn't a bad thing anymore, so there wasn't like a kidnapping of a kids. So
I'm sure they were driving and they probably saw the kids in the window, like waving at them. Pablo Collins says, "I feel like as Apple gets into making electric cars, Tesla will get into game consoles, tablets, desktops, and phones."
How does that help the mission, though? I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, Tesla's already stretched a little thin on bandwidth. I feel like they could go a different direction. Should the body been changed more? 2012 is a long time. It's true. It's a similar body. So.
Yeah, Jonathan Brown says that. Yeah, there's a lot of people that argues that. I personally, I like the small refinement. Like, so they're all small refinement. It still look a lot like the Model S and X, but I mean, forget about this how small the change are. Just take the car for what it is right now. Damn good looking car, in my opinion. Like, it's not much more better looking sedans than the Model S.
Yeah, inside and out too. So Clinton Desbro says you need a Z-rated tire for speed in excess of 150 miles. I'm going to assume that's probably not what comes on standard. I'm also going to assume most people don't need to go over 150 miles per hour.
Good assumption.
Jonathan Brown, the Taycan is pretty and sales have eclipsed the Model S. I don't know about that, even though it's pricier. Will Tesla create exoskeleton, the Model S, in 3 years?
I think the exoskeleton thing, especially if you go with stainless steel, like it creates a lot of problem in terms of paints. Like, I think Model S is a luxury sedan. You're gonna have some different paint color option on it and everything. So I don't think that you want to go that way. But excuse me, right now, like you give me a choice between a brand new Model S Plaid and a Taycan Turbo S. I think I'm pocketing the difference and buying the Model S Plaid Plus.
Yeah. What about new tire tests of the airless tires? I remember the Chevy Bolt trials on these. Seems like that rolling efficient for EVs. Yeah, I was actually at that presentation with the I think they were Goodyear airless tires they were supposed to be more efficient, but they were kind of weird. I don't know if anybody's ready for that, and I don't know how well they
Does it make
handle
a difference though, like ride comfort and like sound too?
yeah, it does, but like it's negligible or kind of hard to deal with.
Yeah, I don't know any timelines of people trying to put that in production cars yet.
Yeah. Will Model S owners purchase a new Model S or look at the Taycans just for a slightly different exterior look?
Oh, what I'm hearing right now is all those people that buy like the P100Ds and all the performance version of Model S, they all upgrading to the Plaid now. It's like uh, the Tesla has a core group of like owner of their top performance cars, and those people are just buying the latest of performance ever and ever and again. And that's still true for the Plaid.
Dan Howard asked, "Why don't you guys have a donate button for this live stream?" Well, glad you asked. If you watch us on YouTube, not Facebook, you can pay for a comment, and then also we have a Patreon, so patreon.com/Electrek.
I think you can set that up on Facebook, though. We just don't do it. And don't know how.
Yeah, we just haven't got around to it. Panel gaps were a problem with composite Saturn panels due to space needed for heat expansion and cold weather shrinkage in panels, not usually a high quality appearance for that fact. I'm not sure what that was in context of that. Oh yeah, this is a good question. Does the SX refresh have the octa valve heat pump? I would assume so, but
yeah, they do. They confirm that. Yeah,
okay,
it does.
Cool. Wonder if materials of interior be upgraded with Model 3 and Y. Those cars cheap inside, not on par with the Taycan. I think.
No one says that the Model 3 and Y are competing with the Taycan, though. Taycan is competing with the Model S, which did get the higher quality materials. I don't expect that. Like Model 3 and Model Y right now is the mini makers. They are like Tesla's reaching high production volumes with them. They're not gonna mess with that too much.
All right, we're getting close to the end here. Why are the gains from the octa valve heat pump so much lower in the S and X? Is it due to the loss of aero tires?
Well, here's the thing: we don't know the efficiency of S exactly so far, because we don't know how much the energy capacity has been changed with those new cells. So until we know that for sure, Tesla says that they improved the efficiency. We haven't seen the range change much. So there's a theory right now that if Tesla is saying the truth about improving the efficiency on it, they might have actually reduced the base version battery capacity.
That's true.
We don't know for sure, but it's possible.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we thought Tesla moved from calling its cars the 85 or the whatever 90. Do you expect the yoke will make it into production for CT, Roadster, and S? That's interesting because we actually in the Cybertruck we saw a yoke. I wonder if they're going to put the yoke in the Cybertruck.
I mean, it looks like that's where Tesla is moving now. And if it's the production in the S, which it looks like it will in the next few weeks, I think, unless there's a big really bad feedback for customers in the next few months, which I doubt that's going to happen, then it's probably going to be on all new production cars that Tesla releases.
All right, we're getting into a lot of conversation here. Let's see if we can find one or two last ones.
Of course, we have a few Dogecoin too.
Yeah, let's see. All right, I think we're pretty good. This is just going back and forth. One last, Jonathan Brown, no paint shop saves $650 million for Tesla, pollutes less. Owners can wrap car. Over time, buyers do tend to like the exterior style, and competitors will bring that to market in the next few years. Tesla could have quite a fight on its hands. Yeah, well,
I think that's in reference to the Cybertruck. Yeah. I think Cybertruck's gonna be a category of its own, but I mean, there's competition coming to the pickup market. But like, if you're tempted by, if you want to go with a Cybertruck, I think you're a Cybertruck guy. Like, competition is more gonna be, I think, like Rivian, Ford F-150 Electric, and all those one. Like, Cybertruck is kind of its own thing. It's that crazy enough. But yeah, I mean, we've been running long, everyone. I appreciate for everyone that's still listening. If you went to an hour and a half of this, you're one of the gang for sure. Thanks a lot. If you're on YouTube, you can give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It's always appreciated. And if you're on a podcast app, a review is also very important to us. And we'll see you next time. Have a good one.